Suho made a puzzled expression when he saw the message that suddenly appeared. Baru asked the same. Before I knew it, a name tag appeared on the head of the wolf cub who was licking seaweed soup. Fang Wolf. The system sent a message. Suho said, "Name my pet." When Suho looked at Baru, who had a troubled expression, Baru said, There was nothing like this in the past. Suho replied, "Which one? A pet?" Baru explained, "Yes. When His Majesty was leveling up, there was no such function." The level-up system currently applied to Suho was originally inherited from the Shadow Monarch, Jin-woo, which he used in the past. Of course, it was improved to some extent from then, but that was to remove the malevolence that dwelled in the system. Suho asked, "Malevolence?" Baru confirmed, "Yes. The purpose of the system at the time was to forcibly develop a human named Jin-woo, to use as a vessel for the Shadow Monarch. As soon as the goal was accomplished, the soul of named Jin-woo was bound to disappear." Baru continued, "Anyway, Jin-woo ended up defying the purpose of the system and became the Shadow Monarch himself. He became a great being who no longer needed to level up. The person who inherited the system was Suho." Suho questioned, "But why is there a pet system now that didn't exist back then?" Baru pondered, Maybe it wasn't just now, it might have been there from the beginning." Baru squinted and stroked his chin. "Besides, the designers of the level-up system were not us, but the shaman of the fantasy realm who dreamed of immortality." Suho asked, "Shaman?" Baru confirmed, "Yes. He's the only one who knows exactly what functions are in the system. A long time ago, the shaman of the fantasy realm wished to escape from the fate of a finite creature and become an eternal existence. As a result, the level-up system was created after making an agreement with the angels of God." Baru explained further, however, the purpose of the system at the time was only to complete the Shadow Monarch's vessel, so there was no need for a pet. Killing everyone and turning them into shadow soldiers was enough. But the purpose of Young Master's system now is completely different from that time. Suho made a puzzled expression. "The purpose of the system was not to make me a Shadow Monarch?" Baru said emphatically, "Yes. After all, Young Master can't become one. There's only one Shadow Monarch in this world. In short, it means that only when Jin-woo dies and the position of the monarch is empty that Suho can get the chance to become the Shadow Monarch." "But Jin-woo was the ruler of death. He would never die," Baru confirmed. "In fact, he is the one who is truly immortal," Suho acknowledged. "I know very well that my father is great." Suho was curious about another thing. "Then what is the purpose of my system?" Baru smiled faintly and looked into Suho's eyes. The existence of Suho, born from the marriage of a Shadow Monarch and an ordinary human, was an unusual existence in all dimensions. So even the designer who created the system would not have dared to guess what kind of existence Suho would grow into in the future. Would he simply live as the young master who inherited the skills of the Shadow Monarch as he does now? Or would he escape from his destiny and find his own way, just like Jin-woo did a long time ago? Baru reassured. "The system merely acts as a guide for young master, whichever path you take. If there is a function that did not exist before, it will surely be helpful." Baru was already looking at Suho's face, the face of a man who had long been alone and fought against everything in the world. He survived by constantly struggling in a place closer to death than anyone else in the world. In the end, even that death was won by his own power. The earth now was at peace, built through his noble sacrifice. But that peace has been threatened again by the outer gods. Suho commanded status window. "Name unto Suho. Level 16 occupation none. Title: Wolf Slayer, HP 2350 out of 2350. MP 235 out of 235. Stats: Muscle Strength 35, Body Strength 25, Agility 25, Intellect 25, Senses 25, Divisive Ability points 0. Skills: Passive Skills, Strength Level 2, Twin Swords. Level 1 Active Skills, Ruler's Power. Level 1 Shadow Fragment Level 1, Blade Storm Level 1. After hearing Baru's words, Suho also understood why his occupation was still labeled as none. There will probably never be anything written on that spot that says Shadow Monarch. Suho paid more attention to the other numbers below. Suho thought, "This is my current level." Compared to the first level, when he was being chased by the mist burns, the figures had gone up tremendously. There were already so many useful skills, but Suho admitted, "I am still weak." Suho was never overconfident with his own strength. It's not humility, but a mere fact. He had already reached level 99 several times in his childhood dreams. Looking back on the sensations he felt at that time, his current power was too insignificant. If he didn't obtain the title of Wolf Slayer at the right time, he might not have defeated Brokey. Suho also checked out new skills during the battle. Passive skill, no mana required, you can use dual swords more proficiently. 33% additional damage is applied when using two swords. This also applies to weapons other than swords. Suho acknowledged its twin swords. Come to think of it, he had always been fighting with a weapon in both hands. An axe at first, and sword this time. Perhaps this skill was created based on his fighting method so far. Suho decided, in order to become stronger here, I will continue to use double swords. Suho's gaze stayed on Reiken's sword. Experience proved that the attack power of Reiken's sword was quite satisfactory. Once caught, the necks of the beasts of Guanxan were cut immediately. It seemed that he would need another sword comparable to Reiken's sword to balance his two hands. Suho thought, I need to earn some money. Hunter weapons are very expensive. Suho's gaze turned downward. Suho continued, and this little one? Before he knew it, the wolf cub had finished eating the seaweed soup and was sticking out of its stomach. He was still lying on the floor weakly, as if he had no energy to crawl. Suho decided, I will have to raise it for a while to use it later on. A system message had been urging Suho from earlier. Suho decided on a name without hesitation. Suho declared, Grey because it has grey hair. As soon as Suho finished speaking, the question mark on the wolf cub's head was erased and a new name was engraved. Fangwolf. Suho expressed, Grey, who had officially become Suho's pet, raised his head with unfocused eyes and sniffed. He smelled Suho. Suho tapped the cub's nose with his fingertips and asked Reiken's sword. Suho inquired, Hey, let me ask you one thing. Reiken's sword responded, What? Suho asked, How do I raise him to be useful? Reiken's sword advised, Is there anything special about raising that? Just let him eat well, sleep well, and play well? Suho countered, Don't say something so obvious. He is a descendant of the Fang Monarch. Is there any special method? Reiken's sword explained, Eating is very important. The reason why he became so weak in the first place must be because Brokey kept starving him because he was afraid of this little one's growth. Reiken's sword raged again as he remembered what Brokey had done. If the child of the K9 clan had grown normally, there would have been no way he would have been held captive by someone like Brokey. Reiken's sword advised, so feed him consistently. If you give him enough sleep and let him play freely, he will grow into a much stronger predator than Brokey. Suho asked, Really? What can I feed him? Reiken's sword suggested, Right, he's a magical beast. It's even better if he is a monster that is self-hunting. Originally, children of the clan play hunting from the moment they are born. Suho considered, It's called hunting. It was absurd to make a guy who doesn't even have the strength to walk on his feet go hunting. Beru commented, Ugh, they are worse than ants. Still, our ants can be left alone when they are larvae. Suho came up with a good idea upon hearing that. Who was it that raised Suho? Who was a baby in the first place? Suho decided, Beru, you take care of him from now on. Beru responded, out of nowhere. Suho confirmed, Yeah, you're the best nanny I know. Beru responded, Kehehehe, I don't know what to do after hearing such compliments from young master. Suho commanded, Let's go then. Beru asked, Eh, where? Clueless Beru. Suho picked up Gray's and inserted the key to the shadow dungeon into his own shadow. Suho confirmed, Where else? Here, of course. Clack, swoosh! After entering the shadow dungeon, Suho put Beru on Gray's back. Suho commanded, From now on, you guys are a team. Beru responded, No matter how small Gray was, he was twice as big as Beru. Of course, even if you put the two together, they were still just a handful. Reiken's Fang, who had come along unintentionally, felt a strange feeling while looking around the shadow dungeon. Reiken's sword exclaimed, Is this the world of the Shadow Monarch? Beru clarified, To be exact, this is the world young master inherited. Of course, it was neglected so much that the wild monsters hid in it. Beru realized why Suho had brought them here, and his eyes lit up. Disquieting gazes were glaring at him from all over the dungeon. Beru identified, These are wild goblins. They are perfect opponents to train a pet. Beru smirked and tapped Gray's butt. Beru commanded, Now, wake up! Descendant of the Fang Monarch. Show those ridiculous guys your ferocity, Gray whined. Gray seemed completely unwilling to fight. It was as if he didn't even have the will to get up. He crouched flat on the floor. Seeing that, Raken's sword couldn't hide his anger. Raken's sword exclaimed, "Ko! You have lost all of your innate fighting instincts due to your life in confinement. What should we do with this?" Suho decided. "Well then," Baru responded. Right." Suho and Baru's reactions were resolute. Baru's skill is predation. He was able to absorb some of the power and memories of the monster he consumed. Baru commanded, "Arise, young warrior." Baru, the best nanny Suho knew, tapped Gray's butt once more, harshly. Gray's eyes, which had no motivation at all, suddenly changed. Baru laughed evilly and continued tapping Gray's butt. Baru encouraged, "Good, start with that momentum," Gray growled. "Growl."